We are witnessing something special as the Toronto Maple Leafs take care of business against Kyle Dubas and the Pittsburgh Penguins. The top six, the top two lines finally got on the board. But more importantly, the Toronto Maple Leafs are playing a different style of hockey. They're playing great under Craig Berube. And what Craig Berube has these Maple Leafs doing is something that Leafs fans have been waiting for years. I'm going to break down that and discuss what it means going forward. And what a wonderful game. What a wonderful Saturday evening. So welcome in everybody. Darius, what a game. The Toronto Maple Leafs moved to 2-1. Back-to-back very solid performances following their unfortunate loss against the Montreal Canadiens. But there's a lot to discuss in this game. But we're witnessing something special. And it's not in the form of necessarily one specific player. It is the collective. There are some things that need to be addressed. And not everything is all roses here. There are some things that need to be addressed. But the way this team is playing, which we'll get into, pushing the net, doing everything, it looks like a completely different team, and what a way. They bent, but didn't break in the third there late in the third. But they got the dub, 2-1, and now we're off until the Maple Leafs don't play until Wednesday, so we have a little bit of time. But what a game and what a way to start the weekend. I mean, not really start the weekend, end the weekend, I guess. The month Maple Leafs. What's up, everybody? Big win.
Yeah, huge win, and thanks for filtering in, everybody. Nice to see everybody here, familiar faces. Jose, how you doing? But nice to see everyone here after a big win. I love the way that the Leafs are playing. They could easily be 3-0 on the season right now, and I want to watch them play again as soon as Monday. But obviously, there's a little bit of a break until Wednesday, and then they don't play till Saturday after that. But I love the way they're playing. We're gonna break it down on this stream, obviously, and I can't wait to get everyone's thoughts as well. But they're playing so much different, and they shut it down and won 4-2. Like, fantastic stuff. I'm so happy with the way they're playing right now, especially the last two games. First game, I thought they were ironing out a lot of things, but they could have won that game as well. So I'm excited to dive into it, man. OEL looks fantastic, right? There's a lot of guys we can talk about, like Nylander obviously had 2 goals. Knies loves playing the Pittsburgh Penguins. Matthew Knies, we'll get to his stats in a second too. This guy loves playing the Pittsburgh Penguins. But yeah, great game. So much to like today.
Absolutely electric win. What's up, Edward, Dustin, Jamie, Jose, Mo? Welcome in. Tim, Bill, Victus, I think. Everybody in here. David, thank you guys for flooding in. Mo, no worries. I figured I'd shoot you in text in case you were busy. They won by a score of 4-2. Nylander had 2 goals. He had the empty netter to win the game and seal it. What's up, STX? How's it going? It's going great. Another Maple Leafs win, and there's so much to discuss here. We have a ton to go over, some new stuff, but specifically the game was phenomenal. Again, we'll go over everything. I have a lot of notes on this game. There was a lot that happened in this game that I want to touch on. Just a lot of things here. Good evening from Peru. What's up, JM? We're going to get all your thoughts, and we also have, of course, the 3 stars of the game, which we're both going to give me and Darius our own 3 starts. But that's a good question. Who was the Leafs' best skater tonight? For me, I'll give mine in a little bit. You could even throw Domi on there if
it only gave me 4 options, unfortunately, but I thought those were the best names.
But let's just start and break it down. There's a lot of things to go over here. So obviously, the biggest storyline heading into the game was a couple things here. Obviously, this is their 3rd game in 4 nights. John Tavares is out with an illness, which means that Bobby McManus slid up to the second line, something that a lot of Leafs fans were clamoring for. Anyway, one of the big question marks, and a lot of fans were annoyed, not necessarily annoyed, but talking about was, hey, can Willie Nylander play center at times like this? They decided to go against that. Clearly, they don't have faith in William Nylander. He goes out and has the best game of the season by an individual for the Toronto Maple Leafs, maybe aside from Anthony Stolarz, who we're also going to touch on, because what a game from him as well. What's up, Marshall Davis? Hope you're doing well. But, I mean, there's a lot. Now, the one thing that is interesting here is still the Austin Matthews situation. But what a game, and I want to start from the top here. I think the thing I want to get out of the way first is the way that William Nylander and Max Domi play together and play together. We've been discussing this off camera and of course in the offseason as well. Craig Berube made that shift, I believe, late in the first, early in the second. He put Domi moved up on the second line with McCann and Nylander, and McMahon and Nylander and Domi, that line looked very good. Specifically the chemistry between Nylander and Domi. It looked unreal. They could have had Nylander easily could have had a Hattie.
It's looked okay the last couple of games for me, but like we talked about it in our last stream, like the first 2 games, like the top 6 kind of disappeared and they're trying to figure things out. It looked like the chemistry was kind of off. But tonight, I mean, like, I guess we're finally seeing what they see in practice between these two, because like heading into preseason, I was like, Domi and Nylander together in the same line, kind of weird. But tonight we saw
finally came
what
together.
They're looking at. Yeah, like it surely came together. And I feel like that's going to be fun to watch, because Nylander is, he's underratedly strong. A lot of people think that he doesn't go into the corners and stuff like that. Like, he's underrated in that way. He does those things. Domi obviously brings that. He's got that fire, right? But Domi's a great playmaker. Nylander can score. It's a great dynamic, and they have Tavares in the middle. Obviously, he wasn't playing with them tonight. I thought Robertson looked great with them. Robertson should be in the top 6, but he looks good on that third line. I wouldn't move him and Pacioretty when everyone's healthy, right? Like if Tavares was playing, but obviously he complimented them very well tonight. And yeah, man, like Domi and the pass. Yes, it's a 2-on-0, but Domi made that goalie think that he was shooting that top corner, right? And then he still passed it over, and
he did it again, but they didn't score.
I know, and he tried the same move again. So, like, very deceptive move. And Domi's so underrated in that way. So, they looked great tonight. Lots to like there, and it's just the style of play. Like, I feel like everyone's kind of slowly, especially we saw it tonight, getting more comfortable with the style, right? Kind of buying in, and it just looks so much better to me, at least to watch, and the results are there. They don't have to win 6-5 or 6-1 for it to be exciting for me. Like, lock it down and secure that win. And they did that tonight 4-2, like perfect mint.
Yeah, it was a very good game. And again, the Penguins aren't what they used to be, but they still put up a fight, especially towards the end. In case you did miss the game, here are a screenshot of the stats for you all. And there's a lot of things to go over here. So obviously, Max Domi got on the board. Matthew Knies he had a goal, but he also just had a phenomenal game all around. Mitch Marner, a good game. Obviously, it was a bit of a quiet first period, but he looked very good. He looked very solid, especially defensively. He had a very key poke away from Sidney Crosby. When Sidney Crosby was right in front of the net, that could have easily been a goal. It's the little things there that he's doing right now, which makes sense. Again, I'm not a huge Mitch Marner. There's been a lot of people that are hating on Mitch Marner, but I think he's playing a solid first few games. But Darius, Willie Nylander, again, there's just so much here. And OEL's a guy I want to touch on as well. I mean, there's so many people to touch on here. The difference in having a defenseman that can actually move the puck and skate has completely transitioned this defense for what was last season, okay, mediocre, into the amount of chances it generates. And he also is good at defensively as well. I'm so happy with the OEL signing so far. And I'm curious in the chat, have you guys, just a simple yes or no, have you guys been impressed with the OEL signing? As Jose comes in with the $5, no message. Thank you so much, Jose. One of our biggest supporters. Thank you so much for the $5. But if you want to say anything, Jose, you're always going to feel free. What's up, Landshark? A bit of a nail biter.
We'll always read it out. Yeah, we'll always read it out, Jose. Thank you so much for the $5 again. But like you touched on, if we want to get into OEL, right? Like you said, there's such a big difference this year from last year or even the year before, having a guy who can shoot the puck and move the puck there, right? And it's not only him, it's Chris Tanev too, but I want to stay on OEL for a second because a lot of people are mentioning him. OEL is fantastic, man. Like, he needs to be on the first power play unit. I was saying it during the summer. You mentioned it in a video last week and people were like, what? That's absurd. No, he should be on the first power play unit. He's another shooting threat. So I feel like they might make that change at some point because the power play tonight, not good again. Power play all season so far.
We'll get there.
It's only 3 games.
We'll get there.
We'll get to that. Not great. Not great. Even special teams as a whole, penalty kill in some ways, I'm like, there's got to be some tweaks. It looks better. I'll give them that, but there needs to be some tweaks. But yeah, OEL looks fantastic. And I wanted to give some love again because I have been, and a lot of people are not talking about him. We have to give love to Chris Tanev. The things he does on the ice that nobody notices makes a huge difference for the Leafs. So many times tonight I saw where Pittsburgh, finally broke up a cycle. Like, the Leafs would have pressure for 30 seconds and really hammering them in. Pittsburgh would then break the puck out and look like, in years past, they would get a chance, like a rush chance down the other way. And Chris Tanev just breaks it up and he moves the puck back to the forwards and they're back in the zone. Like at least 3 times I saw tonight. So breath of fresh air having a guy like that on the team. And like you mentioned, like having a puck mover on the team like him, like OEL, makes a huge difference.
Jose,
it's amazing.
For my message and great game by Nylander. Phenomenal game by Nylander. Paul saying, "Halo, good evening. What's up, Paul Taylor? Hope you're doing well." And yeah, you mentioned it. I mean, Chris Tanev's not going to fill the stat sheet. He never has. But yeah, very good game for him. Every single game. Definitely, I feel like he deserves a little spot there. But yeah, for OEL, I mean, he's so noticeable out there. We talk about it off camera a ton. And even a guy like, the defense looked very good tonight. ESPN needs to fix their Steven Lorentz defenseman thing. That needs to be fixed. But
yeah, that's weird. That's been going on, right? I don't know what that is.
Shout out to the best not have 7 defensemen.
That's right.
Other than that, I mean, a very solid game from everybody. Connor Timmins, I think, he had a fine night. He had a lot of chances, actually. He was playing aggressive. He obviously was a -1. But he looked good, and I don't think they're going to make any changes to the blue line. The only thing that was a little bit of a concern was Benoit. Again, he's taking a ton of penalties. One of them probably shouldn't have been. Second one probably was. And Craig Berube spoke out and basically said, I think it was today or yesterday, that the penalty has been a problem. 3 of them out of the past 2 games. I think 3 to 5 are non-negotiables. Today there was some more non-negotiables. There was also some questionable ones, but that's going to happen in the NHL with the NHL refs, of course. But Benoit's taken a few penalties on the PK. It's kind of weird because at sometimes you see flashes of, wow, this penalty kill looks completely different than last year. It looks really, really good. And then there's other times where it's like a bit too easy. And obviously it's rough for Anthony Stolarz when things like that happen because he's been playing unbelievable. Obviously tonight had another good game, but I don't know, especially on the second penalty. So the Pittsburgh Penguins' second power play there, they had a very good PK and they did it very well. But then there's other ones where it's like, what are they doing?
What are they doing? Yeah. So I wanted to get into that. And Jose, great point. We're going to get into Knies. I have a whole segment on Knies. I want to get into him for sure. But in terms of like penalty kill and penalties. So like you mentioned, Benoit, don't like that. He's taking too many penalties. He's got to clean that up for sure. And they're dumb penalties, stupid. The other thing I didn't like is Pacioretty, the one penalty that he took as well. It's because he's like, he looks kind of slow on some of these plays, right? So he's taking like, you can't take that penalty. You just can't take that penalty. So they got to clean some of that up. Now, when they go in the PK, obviously it looks a little bit better than last year, but there are times, like you mentioned, where like on the one penalty kill, you're like, this is great, right? Because they're pressuring, it's all fantastic. But then the first one, for example, where Letang, I think it was Letang who scored the first goal. Why does he have 30 feet of ice to do whatever he wants, right? Like they got to figure out the gaps there. Great shot, and it beats Stolarz, right? Like, and that's Letang. Like he's fantastic and he's been doing that for years, right? But why does he have so much space? They got to figure out these small things, the gaps when they're pressuring, right? And they're going to. It's game 3 of the season. They're going to figure out the power play too. They got to change something with that. But
thank you so much, Mo. Have a good evening as well.
Thank you, Mo. Thank you for tuning in. Happy Thanksgiving as well. Yes. But yeah, definitely. And we're going to get into Knies too, because we got to get into Matthew Knies, of course.
Yeah. There's a ton of things to go over here. And obviously
referees were questionable too. Just
in the last 5 minutes, they swallowed their whistle completely. There should have been probably 2 penalties. One of them on Crosby against Matthews and then another one earlier. But it kind of makes sense. They tend to do that towards the end of the game. They don't want it to be decided by a penalty, especially when it's a 1-goal game. But I mean, it is what it is. Saying Nylander was the best player is insane. Best player tonight was Marner or Stolarz. Yeah, I'm not sure. It's tough. I think I'm going to end the poll here. 46% said Nylander is the best skater. I would agree with that. I think he had a great game. I mean, going under the radar here. Also, hit the like button. We go live after every Leafs game. We produce daily Leafs videos. So if you're enjoying the content, do myself and Darius a favor and hit the like button. Let's get 50 likes. But the Marner thing is another interesting one. Phenomenal game. I mean, literally, probably the best game of the season for him. Defensively, great. He had the goal was amazing. He's not known as necessary. He very fast. He completely just, it was great. And everybody, it was an interesting, we'll get into the crowd a little bit too. I wanted to touch on that, but I'll leave that for a minute. But a great game for Mitch Marner. The first 2 games, he hasn't been great, but he's been good defensively. And then tonight he goes out, he's still, again, a few great defensive plays. He gets the goal, he gets the assist, 2 points. A very good game for him, even though some people, with everything that happened in the offseason, a very good game for Mitch Marner. And again, the penalties need to be cleaned up, and that's something that Berube is going to touch on. But let's touch on quickly. Yeah, I agree, Ryan. He was unbelievable.
Can we stay on Marner for a second before we move on? Just to touch on it, and then we can move on because there's still a lot to talk about. But Mitch Marner, throughout the 3 games this season, right? And obviously he had a goal tonight, and I thought he had a great game tonight. He did. He's playing very well defensively, but one thing I've been noticing is why are they playing defense when he's out there, right? Like he should be in the offensive zone. I know that might be nitpicking, but they should be driving play, that top line. You have to be,
and they started forcing into the offense.
Yeah, and he did get the goal, and it was a nice rush goal, but you got to start thinking about these things too. Like, yes, he plays well defensively, and there was one play specifically tonight where he was all over the ice with Crosby covering him, and Crosby had nothing. Great play, right? He's great defensively and has been so far this season, but why are you spending so much time in the defensive zone, right? Clean that up. We got to get going here. So just something to think about with Marner. But yeah, I think the penalties, they're going to sort themselves out. It's early in the season. Obviously, when playoffs start, Benoit's probably going to be able to do whatever he wants without getting called, which is fine. That's the reason he's there. So that's cool. But yeah, I think Matthews too.
We'll touch on that as well.
Yeah, subpar in a way because last year he scored almost 70 goals. But I don't know if he thinks it's about that anymore. And personally, the way I'm watching the team this year, I don't care. Just win. Like, he can have 50 goals and it's fine.
Yeah, and again, new coach, everything like that. Matthews got his bag. I'm not saying he's not playing to score goals, but he's right. You see him everywhere. Like Matthews, even though he hasn't scored yet, he could easily have, realistically, there is a world where he has 4 or 5 goals. Couple goals in the first game could have happened. Last game, easily. This game, he had a couple chances, though. Again, we'll get on Matthews in a little bit. Nick and Darius, you need to talk. Have a great idea. Interesting. Interesting, Mark. We could definitely we have a ton of ideas as well. A ton of ideas coming. We're just slowly easing into them as the season's going along here. Marner has a nice goal to give us momentum. One thing I do want to touch on now is the
Yep.
power play, and I'll bring the stats back up. So obviously they didn't score. And their power play's been really rough. They didn't score on the power play, and they've been messing with. You mentioned OEL in the first power play to start the
Yeah.
third. They had OEL out there, which was good, but what are you seeing from the power play? And the one thing I've noticed the most, especially in tonight's game, it was just abundantly clear to me. They cannot get set up whatsoever, and their entries are completely terrible. Every single time they're entering the zone, they got set up. They had multiple power plays this game. I don't know the exact, like a couple at least.
I want to say 3 or 4.
I think it was 3.
Yeah.
The amount of times they got properly set up, not enough. It was bad. It's something Berube spoke about actually as well. Their entries have just been terrible, and it makes me very not concerned at all, because I think they're gonna figure it out. And again, Mark Savard's in now, some new stuff going on there, but their entries have been noticeably bad to me. They haven't been able to get set up at all.
Their entries have always been bad, and they're still bad. So that's something they got to
Worse
either
than
clean
usual.
up, or like they look terrible. So it's something they got to clean up or get rid of, like figure something else out, like start dumping it in again, go old school, because all these teams do the drop back now and try and do the possession entry, right? Which is fine. Like just figure it out then. If you want to continue doing it, you got to be able to do it. But
Whoa, interrupt you for a donation from
go ahead.
CaliKid84 to $5. I still don't think Marner and Matthews together work short from the long term in spurts. Yes, it's an interesting one. That is an interesting one. I'm not sold on them playing together on the first line either. Maybe we see something change there. That being said, they are winning hockey games, but the first line has been disappointing, definitely, to say the least, so far. Even though they had it, I mean, it's tough because we say disappointing. Knies had a great game. Marner had a great game. Matthews had an interesting game. They need to be doing more. And again, they kind of flipped this narrative on its head in the last 30 minutes of tonight's game, because before that things were looking really bad. The first 10 minutes of the game tonight, the first line looked terrible. Knies comes out, Marner comes out and scores, and Matthews had a solid game. But continue your thought. I agree, Kelly Kid. It's I'm not saying I agree. I think it can work, though I'm not completely sold on them playing together on the first line. I think they might make some changes there, but definitely not yet. It's too early. Shout out to OEL for logging 25 minutes, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this guy, I'm a big fan of OEL. Great signing. But before we get back to the power play thing, Matthews and Marner, I wasn't a big fan of it last year, and I haven't been a big fan of it really since, or even a little bit before that. And you know what? The team is winning right now, and they're playing well through the first 3 games, I think. So don't change it. They'll figure it out. And if they don't, then you would have to make changes. Like if you get a big sample size where it's like, this is clearly not working and they're getting frustrated. But they make a lot of money and they'll figure it out. They played well together before, and the team is winning. You can't change that just because they're not going, right? Like the team is winning, and it's about the team now. We have to have less emphasis on the core 4. That's why Ryan O'Reilly left. That's why Sheldon Keefe was fired, right? Because we're seeing it now. Like there's less emphasis on the core 4, and they're winning games and they're actually playing well. So I think that's the way they got to go. But in the power play, like you were mentioning, entries are bad. When they set up, the first unit is so stationary, it's hard to watch. Like nobody's moving, and you have one guy in front. Nothing's going to happen. If you throw it from the point, nobody's going to score. It's just not going to go in because Pittsburgh's going to clear it. And they're not generating any chances. It's very stationary. Nobody's moving. They're trying the same shot over and over again. And then they stay out there for 2 minutes, the first unit. And you don't give the second unit chances. You got to split up some of the guys. Maybe Nylander goes second unit. Maybe Robertson comes up. Maybe Pacioretty comes up. OEL should be playing instead of Riley on the first unit. A couple things like that. Change up. Now you really have to change it up, because we're 3 games in and it's not working. So don't let it get to 5 games. Let it get to 7 games, right? So change something up quickly, but it hasn't been good. It hasn't been good.
No, it's been very rough. The team overall is better than last year for sure. Give Patrick Domi a shot on the first line power play. Shake it up. Matthews needs another
Even that
line. Lorenz and I don't know about Lorenz and Matthews necessarily, but do you think putting Nylander with Matthews works? No. I don't want to touch what they have going, honestly, in that second line right now. But I mean, the Domi, Nylander, and whoever's in there. I mean, seeing Bobby McMahon there tonight makes there are people out there who are saying move John Tavares down to the third line center and let them run. And again, Tavares is not. He's lost a step for sure. He's a little bit not slow necessarily, but a lot slower than he was. I kind of like what they had going tonight. I don't think Bob McMahon had a crazy game, but I think he played well given what he was. I guess getting thrown into the second line there. Not that he hasn't played there before, but I don't know. It was a very a solid game for Bobby McMahon for me. But at the end of the day, I don't want to mess with what's happening with that second line, especially. I mean, Nylander was I think it's arguable who was the best player on the ice tonight, and we'll have our 3 stars here shortly. But I think at the end of the day, he was playing his butt off.
Yeah, definitely. And the one thing I'll say about that, because I feel like a lot of this is going on, and I see it on Twitter too, and like online, where it's like Matthews is not going. So what do we do to get him going? Right? The team is winning. I just said it a few minutes ago. The team is winning. Don't change anything. It's not about Matthews, Marner, Nylander, and Tavares anymore. It's not. The Toronto Maple Leafs are winning hockey games. Don't touch anything. It doesn't matter if Matthews is not scoring. They're winning hockey games. So don't touch. I literally wouldn't touch anything at this point. And I was saying, last stream, it's a concern. They got to get going. Tonight, the top 6 gets going, right? You got to go from Knies on that line. You got to go from Marner, right? Matthews didn't score. It's a little bit disappointing because we want him, you want to see this guy score 70 goals again like we did last year. The team is winning. Don't change anything. It's about the team now. It's not about these 4 guys like it was the last couple of years. Again, I'll say it again. It's the reason Ryan O'Reilly left. He could have signed for the exact same here in Toronto that he did in Nashville, and he left for that reason. It's not about these guys anymore. It doesn't matter how much money they make. If the team is winning, don't change anything. And if they're not winning, then change something. But obviously, you'd like to see Matthews score, but it's not an issue right now. If they come into Wednesday and Matthews doesn't score again, but they win 5-3, whatever, against LA, everything's fine, man. The Leafs are winning. That's the point now. That's the way I see it at this point.
I mean, yeah, the goals are going to come. His shot hasn't changed. He hasn't magically gotten worse. It's just that sometimes in hockey, you get unlucky. And in this case, I don't think tonight's game was necessarily unlucky. I think he could have had a couple better shots. Of course, he had one specific opportunity, and he tried to go 5-hole, and he just kind of whiffed it, and it just hit his pad. It was not. There
was another one, nice shot, toe drag. Like, he had a couple chances. Like, he's going.
Chances, and he'll get it there. But ultimately, he had another one in front of the net. Like, he had so many. We can think of 3 at the top of our heads. On the right side of the net, it was just an easy shot. But ultimately, like, things are going to happen like that for Austin Matthews and everybody. That's why you can't really. I mean, the Leafs are playing winning hockey. Their style is different, and I mean, Berube's new structure here and how he has everybody playing, it's a little bit different now anyways. It's more so they're playing winning hockey. They're playing, I don't know if I want to say defensive minded hockey, but their defense looks a lot better. I mean, he spoke out and said our work ethic, our defense, and our checking for the first 2 games has been really good. And I mean, it was great tonight. Forecheck was great. Ryan Reeves only played 6 minutes, but he had some great forechecking. He had some great just plays in general in 6 minutes. So it's like, who knows if he's going to play next game when John Tavares comes back. But the guys are getting the job done. I think the 4th line still had a very solid game. Lawrence, obviously, David Camp had a couple decent plays in the PK. So I don't know. It was a very nice win. Everybody did their job, I think, and we will get into 3 stars of the game here shortly. But it's I wouldn't change too much. I think we just ride the wave, and they should be 3-0. Really, I mean, there's not they should be because they lost, but there's many worlds where they're 3-0, and I think they've outplayed the opposing team in every single game.
Yeah, and we can say, oh, they should be 3-0, right? And they're not. They're 2-1, right? But you can look at that one game they lost and still like what they did in the game, but they just happened to lose, right? Like, they've been playing fine hockey, I think. Like, especially after the first game, I was like, yeah, you got to fine tune some stuff, but I'm down with this new style. So they've looked really good, and obviously everyone seems happy. That's the thing. Like, the fan base is happy because it's like, all right, cool. They're playing a little bit differently. They're winning the games. Berube seems happy with the way that they're putting in the work, right? Like, it doesn't seem like he's like angry at anything, right? He's like, okay, I've implemented the system, and obviously they're playing to it, and we've won the last 2 games. Everything's going well. So everyone seems pretty happy. Just don't change too much and keep rolling, and let's see how much better they get, because they're only starting in this new style. But the forecheck, like you mentioned, like with Reeves, not just that line, but the forecheck in general, they just don't stop. I don't know what it is about switching the coach, but the forecheck looks fantastic, and they're generating all this zone time and these chances through it. And it looks way better. And we should probably get into Matthew Knies too, right? Like, I brought in some stats here about him specifically against the Penguins. In his career, he has 3 games played. He has 3 goals, 4 points, +3. That was before tonight, right? Like, he loves playing the Pittsburgh Penguins. And obviously Kyle Dubas, who drafted him on the other side now. But Matthew Knies, again, tonight was fantastic. He's a truck on skates, and he can score, and he can make plays, and he's great at, like, the cycle game down low. It's so refreshing because that's the way you got to do it to win, and they haven't been doing that. So he's so good at that.
Yeah, I mean, he was a team high +3 tonight. He was out there making every play. I mean, he was on the ice for 3 of the 4 goals. Obviously, one of them, it was an empty net goal, but it was nice to see Willie get on the board again. I don't know, very interesting things here. And again, these box score, Willie did have 2 goals in case you didn't catch the game. The second one was the empty netter. It didn't update in time. But again, at the end of the day, let's move on now to something. Let's move on to Anthony Stolarz for a second here, because obviously Matthew Knies, we'll touch on him as well. Matthew Knies, phenomenal. I don't even know what else to say about him. He's been great every single game. he's earning himself a paycheck here with each game he plays well. But Anthony Stolarz, I mean, very good game for him. Not quite as good as his first game, but still a 913 save percentage, let in 2 goals. One of them was on the power play. I mean, at PK, I guess. He looks so good out there. He looks so calm and composed. Really the opposite of what we'd see from Ilya Samsonov. He looks perfectly just composed and plays winning hockey. I just love the way. I mean, the defense is helping because got to keep that in mind. They have Chris Tanev now. They have OEL. They have Jake McCabe had a solid game as well, +2. I thought he played really well. But Anthony Stolarz, I mean, he's great. I love him. I've been on the train. I'm very curious what's going to happen when Joseph Woll comes back regarding playing time here. I think he's running, again, it's only 3 games into the year, but I think he's going to run away with the 1A spot. He just looks great against everybody, and he doesn't let in very many easy goals. Even the ones he let in were a culmination of a few things. So,
yeah, they're not necessarily his fault, right? Like when Letang has that much time and space, like he's probably going to score. It's just that good, right? But like you said, calm, cool, collected. Obviously, he's got that big frame, so it's maybe a little bit easier for him to make saves than a smaller goalie. But he's looked great, and I don't care about name value anymore. I'm a big fan of Joseph Woll, but he's missed time now. That's just the fact of the matter. Stolarz, I think that he's playing great. There's no reason to have Woll ahead of him at this point. He started the season. When Woll comes back, you're riding the hot goalie, right? And it's Stolarz right now. So he's going to get the majority of the games at this point, unless Woll kind of wins that spot back through his play. That's the only reason he's going to win that spot back is through his play, and he's not playing yet. They interviewed Berube earlier today too about Woll when he'll be back. And I didn't know this, but Woll hasn't skated at all. Like, that's not a good sign, right? We were told 3 games. So I think
good night, Jam. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, thank you for tuning in. Woll hasn't skated, and we were told 3 games, and it's not looking that way right now. So it's a little concerning. It's a little concerning. He's going to have to win it back with his play. And Stolarz, like you said, running away with the 1A spot. Yeah, definitely possible. It's happening right now. It's happening right now because it doesn't matter. Name value doesn't matter. Who's playing the best and who's actually playing, right? And I love Joseph Woll, and I hope he comes back and he's a great goalie. But right now it's Stolarz. Cool, calm, collected, making the saves. I used to wince at certain shots against Ilya Samsonov because I knew they were going in. Doesn't go in on Stolarz. Obviously, a couple breakdowns tonight, but they won the game and he made saves when he needed to. So he gave his team a chance to win. They rewarded him. They win the game. He's a good goalie, and I'm glad that they signed him because I feel like he's just not waiting to break out. Like, we know he's a good goalie, but waiting for that opportunity to be a starter and get majority of the games from a team. So I love Stolarz. He's been great so far, and breath of fresh air.
Yeah, I mean, he was the best advanced statistical goalie last year. Obviously, he only played 20-odd games. But now that he's actually getting the chance, you can kind of see why. Ryan, you mentioned, I mean, he's very positionally sound. He's fundamentally sound. He's huge, which obviously helps when you're a goalie, especially in this case. You have much better defense in front of you. Now, not necessarily better defense than what he played in front of last year, behind last year in Florida, but better than last year's Toronto Maple Leafs blue line. I just like it. Again, it's going to take more than just a couple games to tell here, but if he continues to play games like this, I think there's a world where by the time Woll comes back, Anthony Stolarz is just going to have already run away with it. And then again, he'll be a great backup or a 1B this year. But I mean, if you have a chance, again, this guy hasn't been given an opportunity to be the 1A, and injuries, fortunately for him, have given him that chance for now, especially if Walls gets put in the LTIR or he's out for a while. I mean, I think either way, if they're winning games, they're going to ride Anthony Stolarz. Obviously, second night of a back-to-back, throw Joseph Woll in. Maybe if you're playing 2 games in 3 nights, you throw Joseph Woll in for one of them, like they kind of did yesterday with a couple days ago with the back-to-back with Dennis Hildeby. I think he's a 1A goalie in this league, and I think he's finally been given the opportunity to do that. And quite frankly, he looks very, very good.
He looks great. And I mean, like, it's not a bad thing. I know we're all fans of Joseph Woll, obviously, and he's been here longer, but Stolarz came here for a reason, and the Leafs gave him this opportunity for a reason.
Great signing.
Take the opportunity. Absolutely. Like, well, literally at this point, it would be Hildeby and Matt Murray, which is, I don't know, a little concerning maybe, but although they played great, right? Like, Hildeby played great in his first game. Obviously, there's a little bit to work on there, but he's still young, and the plan is to go to the Marlies, so that's fine. But Stolarz has looked great. Really, really good start to the season for him. Should we get into our 3 stars of the game maybe, Nick?
Definitely get into our 3 stars of the game. So if you're unfamiliar, let us know in the comments who your 3 stars of the game were in order. Obviously, first star, second star, third star. And Darius, this one is going to be interesting because I'm very curious because there were a lot of good players out there. And I will let you start on this one here. Now, there's a lot of different ways you can go with this. Obviously, I mean, I'm gonna let you just again leave him in the chat. Just put him 1, 2, 3. Name your 3 stars of the night. And yeah, Darius, I'll let you start with your 3 stars, and let's get into it.
Yeah, some people might find this controversial, but I watch the games maybe a little bit different than other people. My third star, I'm going to go with William Nylander tonight. Obviously, 2 goals. One is an empty netter, but the other one, nice goal. And I thought all night he was driving play and creating chances and doing what he does best, right? And I think that is what you need from him. And his chemistry with Domi was shining tonight, so I'm going to give it to him. Maybe you could have Domi in there too at the third slot, but he would be my third star of the night.
Okay, that's a very good one as well. I'm gonna go with Mitch Marner as my third star of the night. Very,
Nice.
very good game. It's a coin toss between him as at second and third, but great game defensively, great game offensively. You can make a case for him being the first star. You can make a case for him being the second star. I think at this point, I'm going to throw Mitch Marner as the third star of tonight's game, but a very good game for him, and I loved it. Again, the only reason he might not even be the first star for me this game, I still think there's things to work on with that top line, and I think someone else, the other 2 players I'm about to mention, just dominated a little bit more.
Fair. I think that's totally fair. My second star would be OEL, just because
It's a good one.
like we're not going based off points. I love what OEL has brought to the lineup so far. He does things that you don't notice, these very little simple things like getting the puck out off the glass and alleviating pressure, like just getting it out. I love those little things. So he's been great. He's another shooting threat, and just his poise with the puck, like he's been good the last couple of games. And again tonight, noticeable for me in that way. So he's going to be my second star for sure tonight. But yeah, Nick, who's your second star?
My second star is now. There's so many players I could go with here. I'm gonna go with William Nylander as the second star. I mean, basically everything you just said. I just
Can't
think
go wrong.
phenomenal game. He had 2 goals. Obviously, him and Max Domi. I can kind of pair them together. I might just give the second line the second star of the game because it was really Domi and Nylander. I can throw an honorable mention in there to Anthony Stolarz as well. He's not going to be my first star of the game, so shout out to him. I think he had a great game, though. I still think his game 1 was better, but a very good game for Anthony Stolarz, and I feel like he could be the first star for a lot of games this season. But definitely William Nylander for me, dominated both ends, created tons of chances, and generated what was I believe their first goal of the game, and then onwards.
Yeah, no, fantastic. And for my first star, I'm gonna go Mitch Marner, just because. And you can go with a lot of different players in this game. Like honorable mention, like Knies. I love the way he was using his body tonight. Same with Matthews. I thought he had a great game off the puck, and obviously had a lot of chances with the puck. So those 2 guys, obviously Stolarz, right? I just feel like he wasn't the star of tonight's game, but he was there and making big saves, all that stuff. But Mitch Marner, to me, like I mentioned, like they're playing too much in the defensive zone. I don't like that, but he's playing great and responsible in that way, right? Should they be playing more offense? Yes, but the fact that it's not going your way right now and you're playing in the defensive zone, but he's responsible there. And there was a couple times he directly shut down Sidney Crosby, so he's playing very responsible back there. He's played great defensively all season so far in the first 3 games, and obviously he had that goal to give them a little bit of insurance at that point in the game. So great game from Mitch Marner. He would be my first star tonight.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I'm seeing some chats. Nas, Domi, Nylander, Stolarz, OEL, a lot of different ones. My first star is going to go to Matthew Knies for me.
Nice.
I don't know. I love the way he played. Phenomenal. I mean, again, you can kind of throw these anyway. I think realistically, he's been probably the MVP of the season for me when it comes to guys he looks like he's breaking out finally. So I'm loving it. He's using his body. He's learning how to use his body. The amount of times he wins puck battles is becoming impressive, obviously, but it was phenomenal. He got on the board a very important goal at the time of the game as well. A lot of 20 minutes, was a +3 as well. Again, the only +3 out of every single Toronto Maple Leaf. And again, plus minuses and everything, it doesn't really mean that much, but it can give some, general, information. But I'm giving it to Knies. Knies 1 for me. Nylander 2, Marner 3. Honorable mention to Stolarz. Honorable mention to OEL. You can really give an honorable mention to a lot of players here, but
A lot of guys had solid games, like just solid games. Yeah, it was a great game from the Leafs all around, I think. But like, there's a couple things like we mentioned at the start of the stream. If somebody's here that didn't see the beginning of the stream, like the penalty thing, like just a couple of negatives you could take from the game, but I'm choosing not to focus on those because they're doing so much right and they won that it's like, all right, like stuff's gonna happen in between, right? That's not great. And what do you do to weather that? And I think they're doing a good job at doing that right now. So that's great. Like it's not about anything else. Just win. Just win. Let's get back to the original Maple Leafs hockey, what this team was built on originally. Win games, try to win the Stanley Cup. That's what it is. And it feels like it's getting like closer to that through 3 games, which is ridiculous to say. But me personally, and I know everybody in this chat loves the Leafs so much. Nick, the Leaf fans, older Leaf fans who watched every single game, every single play. This team through 3 games is playing differently than the last 6 years. They are. It's a different style, different mentality. I was wondering if it was actually going to happen, and so far it is. I want to see if it's consistent. That's the one thing I'm waiting for.
It looks very different. We've been waiting for like you mentioned, years. We're also 8 likes away from 50 if you guys could hit the like button. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, a very good game from everybody. Matthew Knies, classic against the Pittsburgh Penguins. And the defense looks phenomenal. 5 goals given up through the first 3 games is really, really impressive, especially given the fact that, in theory, they didn't have their 1A goalie, but it seems that Anthony Stolarz is going to be that 1A goalie. And also, a quick honorable mention, not an honorable mention, something to note as well. We kind of touched on it. Keep an eye on Max Pacioretty and just how he's going to be playing over the next few games, because I'm very curious to see how he bounces back. A couple of rough games in a row from him, whether it's penalties, but he does do some good things out there. So I'm interested to see how he does going forward with that. You mentioned he looks a bit slow out there. He got a bad penalty, so
he's looked okay. He has some use. Like, he's finishing checks and stuff. Like, there's a lot to like still from his game.
He's not playing much anyway. 10 minutes ish.
That's the thing. Yeah. Like, so that's the other thing. But like, for what he was brought in to do, I feel like he is doing that, and hopefully he gets better, because obviously he hasn't played in like 3 years, like meaningful hockey, right? So there's that too. Like, it doesn't matter how much you work out during the season or during the summer. Yeah, like it hasn't been a good last 2-3 years for him. So waiting for him to get up to speed. You're hoping that it gets there. The penalty, obviously, it's because of the lack of speed and quickness. But yeah, little things not to like, but he's not playing that much for it to make a difference in the game. And obviously he scored the other night, first goal of the year, right? So he's looked okay to me. And if he gets better, then that's great. He'll be fine.
So. Everybody turning Matthews into a power forward. I mean,
yeah,
that would be a funny thing. Tavares is a drain on Nylander. That's another like storyline from this, is how good Nylander and Domi looked without John Tavares. It's gonna be interesting to see if they can replicate that with him. And maybe there's a world where you move Bobby McMahon up, you keep this line together, you move Tavares down, and then you shift out guys. Maybe David Kemp, and someone else gets pushed out there. I mean, Kemp didn't look great. I think he got benched as well at some point after the Malkin goal, or he wasn't playing well. I don't know.
He wasn't playing. Yeah, after that. Yeah.
So I don't know if it was a benching, or if you're dealing with something, or if they were just going with, again, they're not playing now till Wednesday, so they were playing more of their their top 3 lines as opposed to their 4th line, because again, they don't play for like 3 days. Yep. So there's a lot of different things there, but I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what they do, because moves, again, are coming in the form of a lot of different things, whether it's lineup moves. Timothy Liljegren, Elliot Friedman gave some interesting information about that as well, and we had that information in our video today if you're still fiending for some Leaf stuff. But yeah, there's just a lot of things that are going to be happening. And again, Tavares scored a goal in his last game. He's just out with an illness tonight. But the way that second line looked, I almost would be tempted, if I'm Craig Berube, to throw that exact line back out there on Wednesday when they play I forget the team.
LA Kings. LA Kings on Wednesday. Yeah.
LA Kings. So
at home again.
It's going to be, and the crowd, let's wake up a little bit.
Okay, that's interesting that you brought that up, because we mentioned that at the start of the stream, and I saw a lot of that on Twitter, that the crowd was dead, basically, to start like the game, and they're introducing the players as the home opener. You'd think like the crowd would be on their feet. 2 things here that I was thinking of. One, Leaf fans are not surprised by anything anymore. Leaf fans know everything about the team. So it's like, yeah, Matthews is captain. He's announced as captain. We've known this, and we've talked about this every day so that's like something I was thinking. Maybe people are just like kind of over it already. Not over it, but like, yeah, we know. Let's just get into the game. And obviously a lot of people at the game, like season ticket holders, have been season ticket holders for generations, right? So like they're there every year, right? So there's that. The other thing could be the broadcast mixing, like the sound mixing. Maybe they didn't, have the mics up for the crowd. Well. Yeah, it's a real possibility, because every game sounds different, but could be a mix of both. I don't know, because Leaf crowds at times, and it's a home opener, right? So they can be a bit subdued at times. So.
Thank you for letting us hit 50. Thank you for helping us hit 50 likes. Yeah, Mitch, I mean, at the end of the day, as long as they're winning, I'm not too upset about that right now. I mean, again, if any of you guys were at the game, then you can let us know. But I mean, I feel like the crowd is always kind of like that, though. I feel like this is the same conversation every year at the start. It's nothing crazy, and then they get into it, especially come playoff time. Tickets are also super expensive. So, I mean,
especially for this game specifically, by the way, because I was having a conversation with somebody about like they wanted to go to this game. And they were looking at ticket prices for today versus like against the Kings on Wednesday. Nuts tonight specifically. So that is a thing too. Like, I don't know how many people have $500 right now to spend on one of the tickets. So it's a little crazy right now.
Very interesting. And again, yeah, tons of storylines going forward. Will Tavares get moved out of the second? That's one thing I'm very interested to see what they do, because that second line played so well. I'm curious if they're going to ask Craig Berube about it. And again,
Yeah.
we're now not playing until Wednesday. There's going to be tons of info. We'll probably get some more information on Timothy Liljegren. Maybe look out for a Liljegren trade potentially, and some stuff heating up on that front. Because again, they don't play till Wednesday. And then hopefully Joseph Wall will get some more updates on that front as well. But I don't know. The Wall thing is scary, especially just inked a 3-year contract. So any final thoughts, everybody? Also, I saw a quick message. Jay Vines. Hey, boys, I'm loving your channel. It was a great choice to be with you guys as well. Love it. And your information, too. Thank you so much, Jay Vines. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in again. We're going to be going live after every game, as many as we can. And if we can't, we'll, of course, give you guys notice in the community tab there. But any final thoughts before we wrap up this Saturday night big win for the Toronto Maple Leafs? It's important, regular season. I know the games don't matter as much, but getting off to a hot start under Craig Berube was good, and I think they played really, really good in the first 3 games, and 2-1 record is good. I want to see them win the conference, and that's what I think I want to see them do. Not the end of the world if they don't, but I think they need to go out there and continue playing this way, because this is sustainable winning hockey that can also translate into the playoffs. Any final thoughts?
They have to, the regular season doesn't mean it's not that it doesn't mean anything this year. Yes, it's just a regular season. Again, you have to find playoff success. But there's things I'm looking for this regular season that I wasn't last year, like how they're playing in different situations and their aggressiveness and the forecheck and all these things we've been talking about. That's what I'm looking for this regular season. I think they have to win the division this year. I think it's wide open for them. And you have to go for it, because you might be able to play a team that's not in your division in the first round, which might help you, right? If you were able to play Washington last year in the first round versus Boston, there's a big difference. Would they have won? I don't know, right? Can't say that for sure, but easier team to play, that's for sure. So put yourself in the best position possible in the playoffs to win. I don't want to give up, because I see a lot of people in the comments saying move Tavares down. I don't know if it's crazy to suggest, I don't know how everyone's going to feel about this, swapping Tavares and Holmberg on the second line, just because he's faster. He's a really smart player, right? And he could complement those 2 guys on the wings. But not just that. I wouldn't give up on Tavares there yet. He's the team's best face-off guy still, so that adds value for sure, especially if you're having a offensive zone face-off. And he still has offensive ability, right? He's still a good player, just a little bit slower, but still, I wouldn't give up on that yet. But if you have to move off of that, then we'll see down the line a little bit. But
thank
I don't
you,
know
Ryan.
if it's crazy.
Take care, Paul. Lenshark, see you. Happy Thanksgiving. Yes, Mark as well. Happy Thanksgiving. You'll be seeing again. We'll be having videos going all the way through. So if we don't see you guys in live stream form until Thanksgiving, have a very happy and safe Thanksgiving, obviously. But again, you'll be seeing us at the very least in video form. Maybe we'll sprinkle in a stream between now and the next game. Maybe. I'm just potentially throwing that out there. We'll just not confirm yet, but it might happen. And maybe might be able to sprinkle something in there. But other than that, thank you guys for tuning in again. We're going to be going live after every single game. So thank you guys for joining us. Tons of things on the way. And hopefully, we can get a nice Leafs win on Wednesday. If you want more Leafs content, we had a video earlier today on Timothy Liljegren trade rumors, and we'll have a video for you guys tomorrow. Have a great weekend. Have a great Thanksgiving dinner tomorrow, Monday, whenever you celebrate it.
Happy Thanksgiving.
And we'll see you guys in a video tomorrow. And again, we'll see you guys very, very soon. So thank you guys for tuning in. Thanks, everybody. Tim, have a good night as well. And we'll see you guys very, very soon. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you in tomorrow's video.